Have you ever had something really important to say only to notice that people didn't really care about it? If you want to capture and lead attention from people whenever you speak, there is one hidden element you may not know about that all influential speakers have in common, but that they don't always want you to know. You see, when we think about communication skills, we mostly think about language. How to say this, how should I ask that, how should I ask this girl for a date, how should I ask my boss for a raise. But there is still one thing most people forget, and it is what happens inside your head just before you even say anything. Before you even open your mouth, you have already, consciously or unconsciously, formed an expectation of how that person is going to respond to you. Make an image of the person saying yes or being delighted about your offer, and your voice will be calm, grounded and assertive as you speak. However, make an image of your head of the girl rejecting you before approaching because somehow you think she's out of your league, and then when you approach, your voice might be stuttering and you might not really be convincing as you interact with her. But for someone who never practiced any kind of meditation or mental work of any sort, that process usually goes too fast, far too fast to really catch and notice all the things going through your mind just before you open your mouth. But as you increase and expand your mental focus, you will also realize how many of those unconscious expectations are forming themselves every day as you interact with the people during your day. And by changing those expectations mentally, you will also change the reactions you are getting from the people you really want to influence. And it is the whole point of this video. Since your intention will always dictate how people respond to you, it does not really matter that you sound articulate, not articulate, smart, not smart, polite, impolite, whatever. We can find examples of people belonging to all of those categories still being highly influential, because the way you present the information doesn't matter as much as where does that information comes from, who is the messenger, and what is going through the mental engine of the messenger. Therefore, I wanted to share with you a simple 3-step process you can apply today at work or with the next girl you want to chase and impress somehow. You should not chase anyone, by the way, just an advice, but something that will help you communicate with more clarity and that will make you get what you want from the people you want to influence. The first step is to resume your intention, therefore, in only one simple concept. Usually, people around, the people you interact with, lose attention when you, yourself, have too many thoughts going through your mind. If your own attention is getting pulled by too many information at the same time, then you may chase too many squirrels in your own head, up to the point where people might end up doing the same in their own head, because we all tend to pace each other in a conversation. This is basic empathy between human beings. What goes through your mind is going to go through the mind of the person listening to you. So if your attention is being pulled by too many squirrels as you are talking, then you may end up rambling into divergent topics, abstract topics, and don't even remember at some point what was the point that you had when you started to speak. Instead of that, if we cut all of that and we come back to the present here and now, what you can do is simply clarifying in only one word the intention you have for this conversation. If you want people around to respond positively to what you say, there must be only one clear intention into your mind. You want to get them into one mental or emotional state, only one. Which one is it? And eventually answer why this one. For example, I may want right now to get the people listening to me to feel inspired. And that might be all about it. I don't need to add 5 pages more of details, just one intention, you getting inspired to accomplish more. That might be my sole intention. When you communicate with the people you want to influence, what is your intention? And is your intention compelling? Is it compelling for you? Is it compelling for them? If it is not a win-win situation, obviously people might have some trouble with you and try to get away from you. And if it is a win-win situation, then how can that be even more impressive and compelling for them? What's in it for them? How delighted can they become while listening to you? Step number 2, once you have identified mentally the kind of state you want people to be into, the next step is going to be to flash that image into your head, let's say one time per minute. Every minute, or like every 2 minutes, you just flash back that image of the state you want them to be into as you communicate. This will help your mind to stay focused on your message and avoid chasing too many other topics or subsequent ideas, and just remain focused on the one thing you want them to understand or be compelled about. That way they will follow you, they will stay silent for longer because they will sense your concentration, and it will help them to maintain their own concentration in turn. So you basically reslap your mind and refocus once every 60 seconds or 120 seconds. You just refocus on the one state you want them to get into during that conversation. When you have rehearsed that enough times, it becomes a habit and you no longer need to rehearse that. Exactly like when you approach a girl, if 10, 20, 30 times you imagine her being delighted to meet you, at some point this will become a habit and you will just meet anyone during your day. She will already grow fascinated about the conversation because you have rehearsed that outcome enough times in your head. And finally, step number 3, that might be the hardest for some people who can't shut down for a second, it is to let others finish before you speak, even when you disagree and even when you have something else to say. Still pause and let them finish, because when you do that, you create more rapport with their unconscious mind, and again, they are more compelled to listen to what you have to say in turn. Whereas if you always prevent them from speaking and cut them short and want to introduce your own ideas because you think you have something more to say, then they will lose interest in anything else you have to say. By letting them finish and keeping your mind open as they speak, they will be more inclined to then receive the message, the response you give them in turn, and they will have a more positive attitude about anything else you have to say. As a recap, first step, identify, clarify the main state, emotional, mental state you want your interlocutor to be into at the moment you speak. What kind of response would you like them to have in your presence, and what kind of emotions must be present for them to give you that response. If you want them to sign the contract in a sales deal, what kind of emotional state would they have to be into so that they would give you that response naturally without you having to force for that. Second step, refocus on that intention every minute. Like once or twice per minute, once or twice every 2 minutes, you just reflash through your mind as you visualize something for 1 second. You just pop that up into your mind again. What is the emotional state I want them to be into? What do they look like when they feel delighted, inspired, compelled, sexually attracted eventually? What kind of image do I get in my mind when I think about them being in that state? I just refocus on that, and you refocus on that every 2 minutes, let's say. And then the third step is that even if you know where you want to lead them, you know you want to lead them to this outcome, to this state, still pause, take your time and let them process, let them finish. They might be too far away at that moment from the state you want to lead them into. You want them to feel inspired and calm in your presence, and right now they are just stressed out and agitated. Okay, fine, still let them process their anxiety, and one small step at a time, refocus in your mind on where you want to lead them, and you will bring their unconscious mind there. Because with such a level of clarity into your head, every word you say will be intended at this outcome. You won't lose yourself rambling about random topics anymore. You will be centered on that one outcome until the person gets there. Then it is only a game of patience. And if you want to understand and figure out how to lead people hypnotically into any kind of hypnotic state, to say the least, you have for a limited time only, access to the first module of my course 30 Days to Master Covert Hypnosis. You have therefore the first 5-7 days open for free down below in the description for limited time only, because it is a paying course, so you won't get that for too long without investing anything on your own development and improvements. And for now you can access that, discover what the missions are, discover how you can use them to amplify and develop your own level in communication, and you will thank me later because you might trigger some responses, positive responses from your entourage that you used to not be able to get so far.